Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is your host, OTG Smader. And right here, right now, this is Adams of the Adams Welfare Show, right here on this very spot. And there has actually been a menace over the years and over time, over decades. But today, actually, we have me. Today, you can actually call me Prophet. We're actually going to be speaking about the African dream. The African dream. And for over decades, we've been having a lot of people coming. Gaddafi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther, other prominent activists and politicians that have come over Africa, from African countries to provide solution from slavery. But actually nobody has succeeded to unite the Africans on this course, the real course of freedom, love, and unity. But today, you are going to be having me, and I am going to be having you. And right now, I will deliver this message to you as a prophet. The time has come for Africa to be united as countries and as a continent. The time has come for true liberation. The time has come for true freedom. The time has come for us to fight for love and what we believe in. And the time is today. The time is now. That everybody has to stand up and say no to violence. No to police brutality. No to corruption. And no to slavery of the mind. And coming right up is a podcast, not actually a show. For today, we are having nobody but actually me. For a time, the forefathers of African continent preached for unity for years before the 19th century, so as for the 21st century. And there have been many obstacles to deal with in order for Africa to become one nation. Obstacles which cause disunity among the 54 sovereign states of Africa, and with diversity and citizenry amongst themselves, such as the diversities and ethnicity, culture, race, language, socio-economic class, and religion have actually brought a lot of differences among Africans. The people that we believe in and actually hope they are actually going to make a difference and a change in this society have actually decided to serve and pay off their own interests. Politicians and scholars and the activists that they preach peace, they preach love, carried along on their way. But in their hearts, they only carry hate. And hate has brought disunity. And one day somebody's gonna stand out. Somebody is gonna have to beat the fear of losing their lives, the fear of losing what's good to gain what's greater and what's better. Somebody, one person is gonna have to stand out and say no to slavery, no to neo-colonialism. Because right now, we are all actually slaves. We are actually being controlled by a superior colonial power. And actually, the truth to say that I say to you without the fear of contradiction. And today, I am going to be that person that has to stand out to say no to everybody. That all of you should join and hold my hand so that we can all say no to slavery. And the time has actually come that you hold my hand and join me on this course today. And behold, I bring you the only savior of Africa. Born of pain, born of sweat, born of sacrifice. Behold, the United States of Africa. Gaddafi wanted and had a dream that all Africa will be united one day under Africa and not under Western countries and colonial powers. And that was what he stood for and he fight for, and that was what he fought actually for till his last breath when he was assassinated by a political power. And I today have come to you to bring you the good news of liberation. That we can actually walk not in our own footsteps, but in the footsteps that Gaddafi actually made for Africa. And I am the person, the one person that beats his own fear and stands out to call and to Africa, for everybody that is listening, for everybody that is watching. You actually deserve a better life. You do not actually deserve to be in poverty. You do not actually have to work and work for the people that don't work and make you work only to feed their pockets. We actually hope that one day one person is gonna have to come and unite us all. Today I bring you the hope. Behold me. The hope of Africa, sitting right before you today. We are gonna have to talk about this, and you, my friend that is watching, have actually to hold my hand. If we want to fight, we have to be united. We have actually forgotten the sacrifice that our brothers and sisters had made for over decades. the greatest sacrifice, the sacrifice of one's own life in the battlefield against colonial powers who had guns. They had guns, firearms, war tactics, special forces, all against an African that decides to say no for liberation, no for independence. The same hands come to us and offer aid to us and offer loans, financial assistance, development assistance. The same hands that enslaved us, the same hands that stole from us, the same hands that took our grandfathers, our great-great-grandfathers away from us, took away our women to be slaves in another country, took away our men, our young children, lost, stolen from us. Africa has indeed served the greatest bloodshed in its own fight for independence among individual countries. But we forget the blood that our brothers and sisters shed in the battlefield for the sake of their children, for the sake of us to have independence, for the sake of us today to have true freedom. But actually, politicians, activists, and prominent citizens have actually decided to sell out this right that our brothers and sisters fought for in the battlefield. They actually fought and gave away their lives. They sacrificed their own lives for the sake of their children, who we actually are. That actually in their pain, we will thrive. That actually in their pain and suffering and in their sacrifice, in their bloodshed, we will all thrive to see a better Africa. But what do actual African politicians, activists, and prominent people actually do? They have actually joined hands with the colonial powers, with the Western countries, to actually extort resources from Africa. Extort our young minds from Africa to work for Western countries and colonial powers. They have actually decided to walk with the enemy. The enemy that made blood shed like a river on this very ground of Africa. They will welcome and greet and show smiles the enemy that never wants to see us united. They only want to see us so broken. They want to see us enslaved inside a cage. But what do we have to do? A person does not have to be put in chains to be enslaved. Actually, one person has to convince them that they are actually meant to be in chains. But what we actually do, we participate in the same systems. We participate in these same systems, the same broken systems that only benefit the white man, the Western countries, the colonial powers. Have you ever actually asked yourself why Africa, the source of all riches, is actually poor? Is it actually true that Africa is poor? And is it actually true that Africa has no minerals? Africa has no natural resources? Is it actually true that Africa is poor? Or is it actually true that some people have decided to make Africa poor? Ethnic and religious division. Ethnic and religious division has led to instability between nations. Islamic religion, Christianity, and other religions in Africa, they differ. And this one is actually causing instability. We have to stop watching and start acting. If you actually want to change, you have to take a mirror and look at yourself first. And if you see a mistake in yourself, correct it by yourself. And when you put the mirror back to the wall, somebody else is gonna take a look at himself or herself on the same mirror, on the actual same mirror. And there is gonna be a change. It actually starts with you, my friend, that has to accept that we refuse to be slaves of this broken system. If we are actually independent, not that we actually sign our independence against to a piece of paper, the same hands that kill us and enslave us actually giving us independence on a plate that we should actually eat, and sign to a paper that we are actually receiving our independence from colonial powers under their management. Is that actually independence? Is that actually true freedom? Poor governance and corruption. Weak governance, lack of integrity and accountability has eroded trust between citizens and the government. And this one is actually contributing to instability. And I want to tell you, my friend, that instability can never allow progress, can never allow development. Why don't we just stop fighting for money? Why don't we stop fighting for what doesn't matter and start fighting for love, peace, and unity among us ourselves? It is time for Africa to wake up. Anyone that is actually watching, wherever you are, on the road, on your place of work, at your place of work, at home, at school, wherever you are, at work, do you think your children will one day enjoy the fruits of your labor to the society, your labor to the government, your labor to the society? Or will they one day regret what you actually did? The people that are actually supposed to fight for us are actually not fighting. The people that we actually trust to save us have actually decided to join hands with the oppressor to steal from us. And what do we actually do? we let them steal from us our cultures, our heritage, traditions, all in exchange for civilization. Does it actually have a good impact of civilization? Do we actually have a good impact, a better impact of civilization to the society than the interest of keeping our culture and tradition? It is so sad that Africa, the home of all riches, hosts several third world countries. It is actually colonialism of the modern age, neo-colonialism that allows extortion, political leaders, and political figures they join hands with colonial powers to keep Africans in poverty. They steal from us good speeches, good agendas, good speeches, nice speeches. But what do they actually do? We have prominent political leaders. We have so powerful scholars. We have prominent politicians. But what actual change do we see in Kenya? What actual change do we see in Uganda? Do we see an actual change in South Africa, in West Africa, in East Africa, in Central Africa? What actual change do we see? So it is actually true to conclude that politicians actually serve their best of interest and not ours. They are actually paid to talk about problems when citizens have actually given them solutions. Yet we were offered the system of government on a plate, decentralized system of government. We were actually offered it on a plate that we should take and eat of it. And actually, truth to say is that this decentralized systems of government do not actually work. And in the end, actually, what do we actually do? We actually have all the help we need right here in Africa. All the resources, everything we need is right here in Africa. And what do we actually do? We extend our hand to the Europeans. We extend our hand to civilizations, to colonial powers for aid and help, financial assistance, aid, facilitation. We actually borrow. We do not actually acquire these facilities and funds. We actually borrow these funds from banks, from IMF, from World Bank, debts amounting to large volumes that we are not actually able to pay in a bid. And what do you actually think that can be termed as? Slavery. As long as we do not actually pay the due payment to China, to other nations that we owe as a nation, as Kenya, we are actually slaves. We have actually signed a contract that we are actually indebted to that nation. And you actually think this is salvation. This is actually not salvation. This is slavery. And if you do not actually refuse to be slaves, your children and your grandchildren will eat from the same plate of pain, torture, sacrifice that our forefathers ate. They will live to be slaves, to be enslaved in the mind. They will live to serve a broken systems that only serve its owners. And we all fight Africans fighting Africans, nation rising against nation, and nation rising against itself in revolt, in coup d'etat. Political violence. Nations like Uganda, Congo, and also in Kenya, we had the Gen Z protests that cost 67 lives. We actually lose lives in every generation due to a political curse. And what do we actually do? We actually sit down in fear and wait for another day that we will actually lose other lives. Instead of standing up and raising your hand against the system, against the government that perpetuate these acts, we actually fear losing more than we have actually lost. And what does it actually make of us? Since we actually fear losing what we have already lost. We are not independent. We almost had independence. But Africa itself, through politicians, prominent leaders, sold our independence back to the colonialists and Western countries. The business of selling Africa. The same white man that came to our land to tell us that we Africans, we black people, we black nations are meant to be slaves. They actually give us money. They give us aid. They give us food and water. They give us clothes. We actually take a lot from them. And actually nobody that gives does not actually want to be given in return. And what do they actually do? They steal from us. They take from us more than they have actually given. And we actually allow them to do so. And in the taking, Africa is a slave. In Africa does not grow, does not know any solid development. And Africa remains poor. The rich get richer and the poor get more poor. We actually have Obama. We have Obama, an African, a Kenyan, the first black president of America, the United States of America, from Kenya. And actually look at Kenya. Look at its population, its development. It is actually a third world country. And what do actually these prominent politicians and figures and leaders actually do? They have had more than enough in their cups, and their cups actually overflow. And Africans are left with the burden of being a burden, of bearing the bare minimum. And yet, we are actually being called poor. Because they make us poor. And you actually let them make us poor. And our children are actually going to live with the consequences of the choices that we made. And still, we confirm that we are slaves to this system. We have a lot of people. Kenya has a lot of politicians. The prominent Raila Amolo Odinga, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki, Jomo Kenyatta, Oginga Odinga, Robert Ouko Sadler, rest in peace. He was murdered, assassinated. Kenyan Parliament actually has strong political figures. But what change do they actually make? Think about what you have actually lost. What you have actually lost to keep you in the place that you are today. The place you are today, and what you have actually lost to keep you there. And what you have actually sacrificed and given to be at that place. Increased taxes, corruption, they still persist in the society. And do you think the citizens are actually corrupt? Or is actually the government that is actually corrupt? Citizens cannot actually steal from themselves because because they can, because the systems actually citizens can't steal from themselves because they actually need the finances. They need the facilities. The government steal from the citizens. It is time for everybody to say no. It is actually time for everybody to come out in might and power to say no to our political leaders that have actually joined hands with the oppressor to keep Africa, Kenya, East Africa, West, South, North, to keep all of us in slavery and so poor that we cannot actually afford to have food in our own nation. Instead, we can actually have genetically modified food from Western countries imported to Kenya. Food, yet we have lands. We have acres and acres of lands in Africa and in Kenya, but yet we still import food from Western countries. Food from outside. What do you actually think this means? Where is our food? Does it actually mean we do not have an agricultural sector? The actual power of socialism has been undermined. And we actually took an educational system that actually builds the average person. An average person that will complete tertiary education and still be looking for a job to be employed and not actually to start a business, to be an entrepreneur. We have millions of scholars, millions and millions of jobless scholars who who completed the tertiary education and still are jobless. Why? This is actually because the educational system that we actually took is actually broken and only builds an average person. And walking in the footsteps of Gaddafi, behold, today I bring you a beacon of hope for Africa. Everywhere, everywhere in this continent, everybody, wherever you are, I am actually speaking to Africa. Any person, east, west, south, north, central, you have to join hands with me, and we should all refuse to be slaves. We actually pray for a day that we are gonna have free and fair elections in Kenya. But what do we actually get in time of election? Political violence, destruction of property, demonstrations, demonstrations. We actually get murders, political murders. I actually say to you without the fear of contradiction that you actually have to follow the light, not actually the light that comes your way, but actually the light that is from your hearts. The same people that kill us, enslave us, and give us independence on a paper and on a piece of paper to sign against. They see us, black people, the Negro, niggas. They see black people as products and not human beings. And racism has actually graduated. Modern racism. And yet, the society actually hides. The society, they don't want to see nobody noticing about the silent treatment of Negroes. Are we actually given fair opportunities when it comes to scholarships to Western countries? Tomboy came. He was actually one of us. He was actually born of us right here in Kenya. He stood for socialism and love and tried to tell us more about socialism. But actually, where did that land him to? He actually ended up in his grave early. All because he wanted to see a change in Africa. He wanted to see a change in Kenya. And he was actually fighting for what he believed in. Are we actually in control of ourselves, or we are actually being controlled? Mind slavery. Are we like dogs, Africans? Are we actually like dogs that walk around and lie around with chains around their necks only to be fed, washed, and called by a name that never makes of us? We are not actually dogs, and we are actually human beings. You actually have to beat the fear and be strong enough to rise and stand out for yourself and say no. It is enough. We have had enough. We have actually sacrificed a lot for true freedom. But this is not actually what we are getting. What actually makes us disunited? Poverty and inequality hinder development. high levels of poverty and income inequality persist in the continent of Africa. Lack of infrastructure, inadequate infrastructure, including roads, ports, institutions, and facilities under economical graduation hinders the activity of trade and development. Over dependence on foreign aid. Over dependence on foreign aid. We actually do not think what we have is actually enough to sustain us. And we actually feel that we need to acquire more funds from outside. To actually keep ourselves. High debt burden. The high debt burden. High debt burden leads to economic instability. Leads to economic instability and limited investment in development projects. And the youth unemployment poses a significant challenge to economical development. Limited access to credit facility. Many small businesses and entrepreneurs struggle to access credit, hindering economic growth and development and job creation. Political instability and conflict. We actually presume that we actually have a stable government in Kenya, in East Africa, Central, South, West, North. But actually, instability actually cannot allow any form of job creation, any form of development, any form of job creation, entrepreneurship, and investors actually fear when a country is actually politically unstable. They fear losing their money, their facility. Weak institutions, including the rule of law, judicial systems, and democratic processes that undermine governance and economic growth. Corruption actually siphons off resources that are actually meant for development. and it actually undermines the trust of the public, the citizens, to the government. Lack of political will. The leadership to invest in infrastructure and entrepreneurship development projects hinders entrepreneurship and job creation. Health challenges, high rates of infections, disease, poor healthcare infrastructure, and limited access to healthcare services that hinder development. And we also have educational challenges. A lot of people in Africa have actually limited access to skill and a proper education. Environmental degradation, deforestation, and desertification hampers climate and climate change that actually hinders development. Food insecurity. Food insecurity. Nutrition is actually a challenge, and I actually think that most of the people that actually suffer from this is the young middle-aged people and teenagers. Rapid population growth. These rapid population growth, this can actually uh, slow down development and can actually storm our resources and our infrastructure, hindering development because we actually have a rising population and the economy is not actually growing to match the rising population, but the economy is actually going down. It's actually deteriorating. Anyone else that want to have some coffee, you are actually welcome at Adam's Welfare Show to have coffee with me. Actually, right now, I am still the prophet. Anyone else who wants to have coffee, you are actually welcome to Kenya to have a cup of coffee right here on this couch with me. Thank you so much, everybody, for staying posted and for staying tuned to this channel. We actually love you so much. We actually appreciate you, and we look for a day that Africa will we look up to a day. We are looking up to a day that Africa is gonna be free, true freedom. Africa is gonna be truly independent, and we are all gonna coexist as black people, white people, Africans, all in unison, in unity, without violence without oppression, in love and cohesion. That is actually my dream. That one day, white, black people, red, and whatever, all these sorts of people are gonna coexist in one global village. Thank you so much, YAM Young and Innovative Minds, for making this possible today. And thank you so much, everybody that is actually watching us. We actually love you so much. We love Africa. We love Kenya. We love Uganda, Tanzania, East, West, Central, South Africa, North. We actually love Africa. We actually love our heritage. And it is actually my prayer that one day we get to keep our heritage. As Africa, we do not actually have to compete for resources. Economic disparities, historical legacy, and colonial legacies, colonialism and slave trade. Its history is still in the minds of Africans. We actually have to let this go, but we do not actually have to live past this. If you know where you are actually going, you also need to remember where you actually came from. In case you lose your way, the way to where you are actually going, you have to find your way to where you are actually from. And that is the rule of nature. Our freedom and responsibility under our philosophical evaluations of Africa's freedom by the rule of law emphasizes that freedom must not infringe the freedom of others. If a people are actually free, it doesn't have to make another people lose their freedom. And the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, with its emphasis on universal equality, freedom, and justice, played a significant role in strengthening the momentum towards inspiration of liberation movements. And that has actually helped us today. We live to testify on this moment. In our international economic environment, African economies are actually vulnerable to changes in the global economical environment, such as inflation's price fluctuations. And we all have only to ask ourselves one thing: that how can we minimize diversity to engage unity in Africa? One person has to stand up to say no. But millions of people they have to hold his hand and say no to slavery. I am the person that will stand out for Africa. And you, my brother, you, my sister, that is watching me, you that is under the sound of my powerful voice, hold my hand and let us unify Africa through the United States of Africa. Not in power, not in might, that we actually live today. Not that we deserve to live, but our forefathers actually fight. They fought for this day, decades, many years, more than actually 50 to 100 years ago. They actually fought to keep this day alive, with you and me breathing free air and in true freedom. Do we actually have to watch our fellow Africans sell this back to the Europeans? Do we actually have to watch our fellow Africans sell this right that we earned back to the European? We have to fight. This is not a call of peace. This is not a call of war. This is a call of love for oneself, love for your neighbor, love for another nation, love for one's nation. And love brings unity, and unity brings peace, and peace brings cohesion. And together we should all rise to fight for Africa. Today we fight. Our forefathers fought for today, and today we live to see another day that our children will fight the same fight that we fought 50, 70 years ago, to make the sun shine on Africa today. Our children will fight the same fight because we refuse to finish this fight. This is Adams Diplo from Kisumu County. My peace of mind, my wisdom, that none of these words can never or may never be used against me by any power. This is a voice of the youth that have actually been silenced by the people. The youth that have actually been killed by our government in the Gen Z protest. The same families that were never compensated. We have actually been stoned of hurt. That the place of the church has actually been undermined. The voice of church leaders have actually been undermined. Their voices. Somebody has to come out and make a difference. if politicians, prominent people, the society, and everybody else is afraid of standing out to make a change today, I offer my people, I offer Africa, I offer Africa a choice and freedom to rise and say no to neo-colonialism, to slavery, to corruption. That Africa has to be united under one as the United States of Africa. They actually want to see us so broken. They actually want to see us in a cage. But we do not actually have to be there. We actually have to say no. We actually have to say no. Justice has been undermined, and it did not actually serve the people by the law. Justice is actually sold and bought as a product, and we cannot depend on justice. Rest in peace to all the 67 souls, the beautiful 67 souls that lost their lives in the Generation Z protest. And one day, your sacrifice is going to make a change in Kenya and in Africa. Hail Africa, the home of a beautiful heritage. Join me in this cause to free Africa. Fearless men that are tired, men and women that are tired to be slaves, have to join my hand and let us put Africa to where Africa belongs. Thank you so much. See you next Friday. I love Africa and you love Africa. We love Africa. So let us fight for Africa. Fight for our children. For our grandchildren. Thank you so much.